Hey, welcome to the Off Night with your host, Mark Sweetman. And I'm Susan, your poet laureate. And don't forget to hit the like button so that we know you're out there watching, all three of you.
And you can subscribe. The most viewers we've had live have been fun.
So now, since he's already interrupted, I will turn it over to your host, Mark Sweetman. Yay!
Thank you very much. This is my lovely bride. Susan is taking Andy's spot. Andy normally oh wait a minute, hold on. That's nice and soft music, but you can't get it out of there when we're talking. Okay, there we go.
Maybe not.
Normally Andy is with us, and he does the introduction from his car. I got a call from him earlier today. Normally he's done with his Santa, cover the kids' ears, with his Santa gig at 7:00, but they asked him to stay till 8, and he says every night this year that they've asked him to stay late as Santa at 12 Oaks Mall. It's been twice the amount of time they asked. So if they ask for an hour, he assumed that it'll be 2 hours. So he said if he does join us, it'll be near the end of the broadcast. Streamcast, I should say. So Andy and I usually talk about that because I think that is a very interesting aspect of his career, is that for 2 months of the year, he makes his nut by playing Santa. And
He's the headlining Santa.
Yeah, that's right. He's at a mall, a large mall this year that has as many as 3 Santas on the weekend and 2 during the weekdays, and he likes to let everybody know that he's the headliner. So
that's right. So let's jump to the agenda, and you guys can talk about whatever you want to. But
so you want to get out of
here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Typically, I read a poem for our new listeners. You can know what we're doing here. And the poem has current events that Mark may or may not give me the news stories he wants in the poem. And usually he doesn't. So I have to find the news stories. And then he doesn't always follow it as an agenda. So you could be in for anything in discussion tonight.
I got to be honest. I really only do it because I'm a masochist and I love the critique.
Okay. So tonight's poem. Refugee crisis reported. The Indian Ocean is wavy. Rohingya refugees rescued by the Sri Lanka Navy. The UN is investigating. Myanmar cannot abide for crimes against humanity. Is it genocide? Incite sedition and get a kick in the rump. 4 criminal referrals are headed for Trump. World Cup soccer in Qatar is finally all done. Argentina beat France, and the watching was fun. Now put down your work and business and have a happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas.
Well, thank you, sweetie.
You're welcome.
All right.
Have a good show.
All right. She'll be watching on YouTube from the bedroom.
That delay is really freaky.
You know what? I ignore the delay. They're not delayed, so I just pretend it doesn't happen. All right. So anyway, that was
hi everybody.
That was our poem. That was our poem by Susan. I enjoy that every week, and it gives us some talking points if we need them. But usually, we have such great guests, we don't have to worry about that. So our longest, now that Andy's not here, our senior guest with the show is Sam Greenfield, and he joins us from his apartment in New York City. Sam, good to see you.
Very nice to see you. It's been a rugged couple of months for the family, the Greenfield family. I had a sister who passed away in October. I had a sister who passed away yesterday, and the surviving sister is 93 years old. And I don't know how many people you know of that age, but sometimes they stop eating. They just stop eating.
We've seen that. Yeah, we've seen that happen in our family. My grandmother died back in 2001, and Sue's grandmother, who was living with her mother, died just a month later. I think she died of loneliness because they had become close friends, my grandmother and her grandmother, because they were the only ones that were left at the same age. They didn't know many other 95-year-old people. So, and once one of them passed, the other one was gone within a month.
Well, the thing that's amazing, my sister is down to 74 pounds.
Yikes.
And when she found out that her kid
She
sister,
weighs less
Elaine,
than
had
you
passed,
now.
huh?
She weighs less than you now.
Isn't that amazing? And so when she found out that her kid sister had passed away, she said, wait a minute, there's just me and Sammy? How the hell did that happen? She said, well,
Goes
it makes
record.
sense that Sammy's, well, she said, it makes sense that Sammy's still around. He's the youngest. She said, but well, my brother Richard, he passed away. He was 93, but he had, he had dementia. And you never knew my brother, but it
Yeah.
gave me such a thrill that he had dementia. So I could say to him, no, I visited you last week.
What are you talking about?
This is a guy who would bully people into doing what he wanted them to do. And it always was a disaster. I'll give you one example. He bullied his son into breaking up with his girlfriend, love of his life, this girl. And he
Okay.
bullied her. And he said, if you keep dating her, because she wasn't Jewish, and he said, if you keep dating her, I will cut off your tuition.
Wow.
And so he was 19. He was scared. So he winds up marrying a Polish Catholic. God, I love this story. A Polish Catholic. And this is what she's like. I'm going to have a child, and then I'm going to adopt a child, and I'm going to raise them as twins.
Yeah.
That's what he wound up. And then he bullied his
That
other
sounds,
daughter, fiance.
that sounds so crazy. It could only happen in a script, you know?
Well, yeah, if Sam Simon wrote it, then it would be something. And so and then he bullied his daughter, the next daughter's husband or fiance. He didn't want to get married. This guy did not want to get married. And they said, why? He said, he told me, he said, don't tell your brother, I don't love her. I like her. I don't want to get married to someone I don't love. I said, well, tell him. And he said, well, how do you think that's going to turn out? So he bullied him into marrying her. He left
Wow.
her after a year and a half. Get this. This is how badly he wanted out. He left her for a woman who was 5 years older who had 2 kids. Well, I'm okay. Is everybody else all right? Mark, are you
No,
frozen?
your sound went out there. Did I freeze up?
How about now?
You sound fine now. You know what? I'm going to bring other people in here so that if I freeze up, there's
Yeah.
somebody
So
to pick
that's
up
that's my brother's legacy. Oh, here's the other thing. His other daughter is gay and I don't remember her. I've never remember any memory of her ever being with a boy. She's been gay. Well, she's gay. I mean, you know what I'm saying, but there's never been any
Right.
pretense about it. She's been with the same woman for 32 years. And so my brother one time said, well, Paul is married and Mark is married. I guess that leaves Robin, to which everybody in the family went, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's of all the couples, she's by far the happiest. Those two are the most well-adjusted, the kindest, nicest people. So, but he's dead now, so let's move on.
All right. Well, Sam, gonna bring out a couple of other guys here. Here's for our Sunday Night Live show. He's been our opener since last June. How about a warm welcome for Jason Grant, everybody?
Yay, Jason
Hey,
Grant.
guys, thank you very much. So Sam, does your sister have a great collection of power tools and she,
No, that was
my niece.
that's my niece. That's my niece. And
niece. Yes.
actually, what you just said,
Yeah.
it's funnier than you might realize because when I was going to meet, we were going to all have dinner together, me and her wife and her. And this is what she said. I'll never forget this. She goes, where are you staying right now? Because we can, we'll bring the pickup truck over.
Yeah.
And she wasn't trying to be funny.
No,
they had a pickup truck.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. And I told her, and and they picked us up, and they're the nicest goddamn people in the world.
I
And so
lived
when
up,
she said pickup truck,
yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I said I lived upstairs from a lesbian couple, and it was every trope you could imagine. I went downstairs. I would borrow tools from them. They'd have the new Carhartt catalog there. They had a Rottweiler named Daisy. And they're like, yeah, I know, I get it. Yeah,
They're wearing flannels. They drove a
yes,
Saturn.
yes. I mean, well, actually, I think
They both played in and umpired in softball leagues.
Yeah.
After 2 weeks of dating, they rented a U-Haul.
Every trophy you can think of him, I give them credit because they're like, yeah, I know, I get it. Yeah, that's it.
They insisted that everything out of a man's mouth was mansplaining, whether it was or not.
No, actually, they were.
How many lesbians are nice people?
Well,
they were nice though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were great. They were great.
How many lesbians does it take to put in a light bulb?
I don't know how many.
2, and it's not funny.
Oh dear.
All right, let's bring in our quadrant here. Here's funniest guy in the show last night. Man, we let him go. Yeah, I was lighting other people that were going over 12 minutes, but not this guy. He was cracking us up.
Because he's armed.
Ned Wright, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, Sam, if you get that down to one page, I can get you 13 weeks on air.
That's not bad.
That cast of characters America's going to fall in love with them.
That's what I always say. He's got a great cast.
Yep.
I could do that.
Let's talk next week.
All right. I used to work in a butcher shop, and I was the only white guy. And there was a guy who worked there who was black and spoke fluent Yiddish.
You're kidding.
No, he was raised among Jews. You know who was raised by Jews? I never knew this. Louis Armstrong.
I heard that.
Yes, I heard. Wow. Yes, I did. Then and he would only go to Jewish hospitals.
That's right. Well, he knew. What's his name?
Come on,
Sebastian. What's his name?
Really?
What's that guy's name? Sebastian
Cabot.
The comic.
Sebastian Maniscalco.
Oh, yeah. Okay. He goes, I went to the emergency room at this hospital, and they go, and I'm saying, please God, let it be please God, don't let it be an Italian doctor. Please God, don't let this happen. He says, my biggest nightmare is I'm in an emergency room, and the guy says, hey, I'm your doctor, Rocky Manicuti. No. Is there a Cohen back there? Is there anybody named Cohen? Please God, is there a Schwartz? Is there a guy who looks henpecked? Please.
I'll take an Abramowitz. I'll take one.
The neighborhood I grew up in.
Give me the doctor that takes off the most holidays, please.
Yes.
That's funny. I'm sorry, Dr. Cohen can't help you. It's the Festivity of Malaguena.
Oh no! I grew up with a whole bunch of Yiddish speakers in the neighborhood I grew up in out here in Ann Arbor in the Midwest. So it was always a treat to hear it. And I learned German, and I learned Low German and High German, and it wasn't all that different from Yiddish. That was always the interesting thing about it. I've always had a fascination with languages and the people who speak them.
Yiddish is Pidgin German.
It is.
So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's exactly. By the way, the butcher shop I worked in, a guy came in one day, and
we're losing you, Sam. We're losing you.
Well, I mean,
so I put them up on the counter.
No, he was speaking Yiddish.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's got that Yiddish. Yiddish has that computerized voice sound.
Yes, that rhythm. Yes.
Well, that the Yiddish, and of course, I also heard a ton of klezmer when I was younger.
Oh,
and then in the '90s, you had these punk bands that were doing like klezmer punk. Yep. I'm going like, I heard this shit 20 years ago. Yep. And then the radio was all like, oh, this is the newest thing. It's like, I don't know how new it is, but like I say, this is the stuff that I grew up listening to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, out here in the middle of the Midwest, the middle of nowhere. By the way, Ned, great crowd work last night.
Why, thank you, Jason. That
you
was
were
fun.
was that girl really flipping you off, or were you just
Oh,
fucking-
yes. I wouldn't have made that up. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Mark has made me feel so welcome there. I feel like I can do whatever I want. And it gives me, you probably know what I mean. It gives me a lot of freedom. And sometimes it all comes together. That's really nice.
No, that's absolutely true. And it's what's helped me out quite a lot. So I don't, trying to fit myself into that 5 minute box.
The only people I liked are Joe Weagle, Joe the Animal, and Stephen Rossi.
Yeah.
And Steven's not bad. I mean, he's got some decent material, but he just likes to go on and on and on.
Right.
When you go down to the script for the third time because you've run out of stuff, say goodnight.
Yeah.
I think Steven's a marvelous joke writer.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. But I just don't like the way he goes down to his list.
Oh yeah.
I hate. I mean, I know it's open mic and do that stuff at the beginning and then do your stuff that you know is going to work and say goodnight. And leave them wanting more.
Always,
it's an old showbiz bromide. Leave them wanting more. But that go down once and say what else, anything else, because I know Andy does it too. He'll go and he'll look at something, but Andy doesn't go down 3 times.
No,
he'll just realize it's time to get out, and he's got 4 things, and he wants to decide which one of the 4 he wants to do.
Right.
He doesn't look down 4 times and do all 4 of them.
Yeah. What absolutely baffles me. And I might bring it up if we do a class I do not understand why comedians say, okay, I'll leave you with this one. Okay, I'll end on this one. Like, why are you announcing you're about to do your last? Like, what is that? What's the purpose of that? I feel like under pressure now, like I have to laugh like this is your big closer. Why don't you just do your jokes and then get off, Has anyone else noticed that? Like, and now for my last joke, isn't that a thing to do?
That would be an interesting thing to ask. I haven't asked anybody that yet, but I know that back in the day when I was first starting, if you did something like that, you'd usually have a more experienced comic off stage saying the same thing you just did. It'd say, don't.
My biggest fear was that if you said I'd like to leave you with this joke, somebody in the audience would go, whew.
About time.
Right. Finally.
Fine. What took you so long?
Yeah.
It's about damn time.
Oh, by the way, you were talking about looking at notes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know who looked at notes? I mean, constantly. Buffalo and Richard Lewis. And for what Richard Lewis was pulling down, he should be ashamed. Ashamed.
Viral book, yeah.
Yeah, that's bullshit. You're pulling down a couple of thousand a night. Learn your goddamn. Oh man, please don't give me this thing. I'm so neurotic. Oh, you're a comic and you're neurotic. Wow, how'd that happen?
Yeah,
I'm told that Carlin would have notes when he was working on stuff.
Carlin had a well-renowned method where he was in Vegas for a year until he recorded his next special.
Right.
And because he had 12 months and he was doing an hour, every month he would add 5 minutes to his act. And it would always be up front. He would do those new 5 minutes until they were the way he wanted them. And then the next month, that was part of his regular act, usually at the beginning. And then he had a new 5 minutes that he did up front. And eventually he's pushing out his act for 12 months until he's got a whole new 60 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Leno
told me once, write one joke a night. Write one new joke every day. At the end of the year, you'll have 365 jokes. 10% of them work. You have a 45-minute set.
There you go.
It's true.
Yeah, it is.
And then I accused him of stealing. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I recently, through the miracle of YouTube, went and rehashed the whole Joe Rogan, Carlos Mencia thing again, and it was glorious to watch. Because it was like recorded way back in the early days and posted online, maybe even before YouTube. I can't quite remember.
It was before YouTube. That happened either late 90s or early 2000s.
Fill me in, please.
Gentlemen, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Can you recap?
Yeah, me either.
Joe Rogan went on stage at the Comedy Store while Carl Mencia was on stage,
Yeah.
and basically got up there and accused him of stealing.
While he was on stage? So there were two
While
of
he
them
was
on the stage?
Yeah,
Carlos,
and
Carlos is a notorious joke thief.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then
He
Carlos-
doesn't give a shit.
No, he doesn't
Carlos
care.
was getting the best of him until
Mhm.
someone handed a mic to Joe Rogan.
Mhm.
And when Joe Rogan had a mic in his hand and Carlos had a mic in his, the tables turned.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? It helped me to understand when you have the mic in your hand, you have an incredible advantage,
Of course.
no matter what the other person is saying.
And you knew it wasn't going to come to blows because, Rogan could kill him.
Oh, Rogan,
Yeah.
it wouldn't even be fair.
But I remember Mencia saying this. He said, "That's right, I steal and I don't give a shit." And ever since he said that, and I don't believe in karma because Robin Williams won an Oscar. So, I mean, come on. Okay. But ever since he said those words, am I wrong? Carlos Mencia has kind of disappeared.
Completely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
And
remember
it's not because they won't hire him. Okay, Mel Gibson was getting work in Hollywood, for Christ's sake. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like, well, I have a certain moral code. Get the fuck out of here.
You guys remember the Dennis Leary show? Dennis Leary at the comedy festival in Scotland story?
Well, is that the one where he got called out for stealing Bill Hicks's material?
Well, what happened was Bill Hicks was invited, did his set, and he got off, and they said, "Mr. Hicks, why are you doing Dennis Leary's act?"
Oh,
Dennis
oh my God. Oh my God.
I
And
do.
Bill's like, that's all my stuff. So that's how Dennis got caught. And Dennis, apparently he apologized to Bill on Bill's deathbed.
Well, I know that Greg Giraldo went after Dennis Leary. Yeah. He went right at Dennis Leary, right between the eyes, which that's
and Leary's another example of, oh wow, it really ruined his career. The guy, he's working constantly.
No, he's had a very good run. Yeah.
And he's a fine actor.
He's a very good actor. He even put out a comedy record with other people's material on it.
Yes, he did. According to Louis C.K., the whole "I'm an asshole" thing is a Louis C.K. bit.
Probably. It probably is.
Yeah. And then he said, I did that bit. And then Dennis went back and kind of reworked it a little bit and brought it out. And that's kind of what launched Dennis Leary on a national basis.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's very hard for Louis C.K. to do his act and jerk off in front of your niece.
But about to say, with his dick in his hand out there.
Well, he stole that from me, first of all.
Did he really? I heard it was actually your dick. That's the thing. That's the thing I found amazing.
Well,
now we'll have comics arguing over whether it was their dick. No, it was my dick. No, it was my dick. And everybody arguing.
It wouldn't bother me.
Can I use your dick when you're on the road?
Yeah.
Not in town.
Yeah.
Parallel penis development.
I use his dick, but only when he's on the road.
Yeah.
Well,
you asked me for a tight 7.
Yeah,
I did what
I did.
That's
funny.
Very good. Oh,
yeah,
God.
Well, tight 7, floppy 9.
Now you know why we don't let guys stretching it.
Oh, man.
Oh, Mark.
And be careful that the owner doesn't stiff you.
Everything you're saying is a double entendre. It just keeps
I got to tell you, that's the sort of thing.
I believe when they came up with the comedy terms back in the vaudeville days, they all said to each other, "Now, is there any way we can double entendre that? All right, well, let's call it something else then."
Well, you remember the movie Broadway Danny Rose, where Morty Gunty is talking to Corbett Monica, and Corbett Monica says, "I did a joke last night, and it died." What was the joke? Well, I went to this hotel, and they said, it's only $10 a night because you got to make your own bed. And I said, okay. And they gave me some wood, some nails, and and Morty Gunty said, "You did that joke? That's my joke." And Corbett Monica went, "No wonder it was familiar." And they laughed. because there was no territorial imperative back then.
No,
right.
No one cared.
TV. There was no TV. You could do whatever you wanted on the road.
They didn't care. They laughed about it.
There was no way of stopping them, other than just integrity or whatever.
Yeah, well
yeah. Right. So
sure.
No way of stopping them.
Exactly,
Ned.
Yeah.
It certainly started a new modern age when Kramer from Seinfeld had his little tirade when he was trying to work on his comedy set. And again,
Michael Richards
saying you'd have been hanging from a tree.
Have you seen tape of that?
Yes, that's
I
what
have.
I mean.
He was doing what some bad comedians do. He was
floundering.
But he thought he was like free associating and riffing and just like let it all come out. And
can I tell you something? That's what. This is just my opinion, but that's what sketch actors do, and that's what he is.
Yeah,
he's not a comedian. I'm not saying he's not a comedian. He's a sketch actor.
Yep, and a good one.
A very good one, but that's what they do. And he had I guarantee you, as he was saying it, he could feel the quicksand going around his knees up to his groin, and but he couldn't stop.
But if I stop now, I'm sunk. If I keep going, I might save it. And he didn't save it.
No.
Yeah, and I said
the worst when you see
how can
somebody
you say that about quicksand? Didn't you see Blazing Saddles? Jesus, come on.
See it. I lived it.
Well, again, it was just sort of one of these turning points when if you had done that in some club in Toledo, people might have heard about it. No one would have cared. But when you actually see it occurring, when you can click a link, and he said, saying you should be hanging from a tree. That's just
when he said that, my wife doesn't remember this, but when he said that, I screamed so loud. My wife thought I'd had a heart attack. She ran into the living room and she went, "Are you okay?" I went, "Yeah." Michael Richards said, she said, "I can't fucking believe you." It was because of something someone said. I said, "Yeah, he called you a bitch."
Was he the first sort of public figure to be canceled, would you say?
I would say so.
I think so.
I would think, because again, this is right at the cusp of
by canceled media. You mean what?
A career vaporized,
a career ender,
being radioactive. No one would work with him or even talk.
There's got to be someone before him. There's got to be.
Well, I mean, there's probably been iterations, but I mean, this is like the first one where the 2 nights later or the next night, he's on Leno trying to apologize.
Of course.
And see, I wouldn't have done that.
And the apology went worse. If you actually
you know what you do. You know
why the apology was bad? The apology was bad because he apologized to Mel Gibson's wife. So.
Oh, yeah.
You see. See, here's what he did that was wrong. He said, "Listen, if any schwatzes were upset."
Or any homos.
If any tunkles have a hard on about this, let me say, okay, you're lucky you weren't in Roots.
You'd have hobbled out of the theater on half a. Oh my God! Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. I saw your wife in Roots. She was a hooker. Rent-a-Kunte. Come on.
Sam Greenfield, ladies and gentlemen, he's going to be here all night
with his new book. Too soon.
Cups and shit.
Well, I mean Gilbert Gottfried got canceled for.
Do you remember what he got canceled for?
Was it for the Too Soon?
He made jokes about a tsunami.
The tsunami, the bodies floating by.
Who gives a fuck? Like today, that would be.
I couldn't believe he got canceled for that. I was so angry about that.
Fired from the insurance gig. He was in deep shit.
Yeah,
I think Michael Richards was the first one. Do you know how long ago that was? You'll never guess.
It has to be 10. It has to be 10 years.
Oh no, that was 80.
16 years ago. 2000.
Wow.
Yeah, 2006. Yeah. Oh my God.
Wow. This is what I would have done if I was Richard. Seriously, I would have done nothing for 1 month. Nothing. Exactly. He had a lot of money from Seinfeld. He didn't need to work. Stay out of sight. Go on vacation. Go away. No interviews. Nothing for 1 month.
I would have disappeared for a year.
Well, Pee Wee Herman,
Island, just relax. Let it blow over.
They say Pee Wee Herman did something similar after he got caught jerking off. Of all things to get busted for, jerking off at the adult movie theater.
I told you the joke, right? Nathan,
the guy gets shot in the back of the head.
3 people who were shot in the back of the head. JFK, Lincoln, and the guy sitting in front of Pee Wee Herman.
Pee Wee Herman, yeah. But I mean, his next appearance was a few weeks later on the MTV.
And they loved him.
Remember his first line?
Yeah. And
Hi, remember me?
No, he
And
went
he
on
was sitting-
stage. He went on stage and said, "So, have you heard any good jokes lately?"
Yeah.
Brought
Yeah.
down the house. It was
That
so
was so
funny.
charming, though.
Right. I mean,
It was great. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was fine.
The joke
And-
I did about him was I said, let me get this right. This guy lost a gig because he came twice in 10 minutes. Is there no medal for this man?
Well, I didn't understand. Again, first off, why are we wasting resources to figure out who's beaten off in an X-rated movie theater, and who in the late 90s is going to an X-rated movie theater when you have VCRs and videotapes?
It's the
Let,
same
let, let, let me
reason-
say this.
it's
I've
the
been to
same-
an X-rated movie theater, and the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life, was a guy who, you know, you're in a movie theater and it's X-rated and you're jerking off, and this
Yeah.
guy's like, oh God. Oh. And somebody about 3 feet away went, will you shut the fuck up? I laughed so hard. Oh my
Trying
God.
to enjoy my date and I are trying to enjoy this movie.
My mother is asking you to stop.
Robert Klein was on Letterman, and they were talking about Pee Wee Herman. And Robert Klein turns to the camera and he goes, "Pee Wee, VCR."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the reason it's the same reason that Hugh Grant got busted with a hooker on Sunset Boulevard.
That one I never understood either.
It's because some people's kink is, yeah, I know I could jerk off at home, but it's more exciting in a theater. I know I could fuck Elizabeth Hurley, but I'd rather fuck this ugly streetwalker.
I mean,
kink is different, boys.
I understood the whole Jimmy Swaggart and that trash that he was hanging with. The one that looked like she couldn't get a job working the pole on an oil rig.
Right.
You couldn't get a job working with a pole.
No, I mean,
on an oil rig.
And a guy named Stosh.
Yeah, she ended up working. I mean, they did a photo spread of her in Penthouse, and I'm like, this is unwatchable. This is unlookable.
Did you ever hear the interview?
You're making
I'm sorry.
point.
Go ahead, Ned.
Huh?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's making my point. It's like that's that particular person's interest, as seamy as it sounds to us. Like,
right.
Why did George Michael have sex in a bathroom in Malibu? He lives in a mansion. You know why? Because he gets off on having sex in public bathrooms.
The danger of being caught.
Yeah,
the danger of being caught.
The danger. Yeah. That's part
Oh, by the way, were you the one who did the wham joke last night?
Yes.
That was good. Oh my God. I don't know how many people got that, but I was like, oh my God, that is so fucking good.
Some people get it, some don't.
Yeah, well, you know, but I mean, the thing is though, telling me that an 80s pop star is banging somebody or getting banged in the ass, who gives a shit? But Jimmy Swaggart, even though we know this guy's a dirtbag, but yet we have empirical evidence, and yet he still manages to go out there and do the I have sinned.
You know, when he was growing up, he was Jerry Lee Lewis's cousin.
Jerry Lee Lewis and Mickey Gilley.
Yeah.
And everybody in the family thought that Jerry Lee Lewis, this is true, would be the minister, and Swaggart would be the rock and roller.
Well, it didn't quite work out that way.
By the way, did you ever see the interview?
I don't know if you know about the recordings, but Jimmy Swaggart recorded gospel albums, and Jerry Lee Lewis recorded gospel albums, and Jerry Lee Lewis's gospel albums outsold Jimmy Swaggart's gospel.
There's no question.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he's a better musician.
Oh yeah.
I found a cancel culture victim older than Michael Richards or further back.
Lay it on me.
You ready? You may agree or disagree with this, but
Von Meter.
Woody Allen.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
How many nominations has he had since?
And that is a crime to me.
Yeah. He still made movies, but he doesn't have the. Every year he made a movie.
He never
turned on him. Yeah.
Well,
he never.
Roman Polanski. How about Roman Polanski? If we want to really, I mean.
Yeah, that's true. He's an Oscar winner who can't get work.
I disagree because people still defend him.
I know.
The girl he did it to said, "Let it go."
Well, I mean, all he did was roofie a 13-year-old and fuck her in the ass. I mean, come on. I mean,
who hasn't done that?
I mean, come on. I mean, sometimes
I always like to put. That's the type of thing I always like to put to Boots Randolph's Yakety Sax.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's hysterical.
Guys,
Oh
listen,
my God.
I'm gonna be waiting for the cleansing hand of God to strike Mark Sweetman dead.
Thank you.
My
Thank you.
favorite moment
At least
from
I'll get some street cred for something
Mark,
out there.
my
congratulations.
favorite moment from the show last night was Mark Sweetman on stage talking some horrible pederasty topic. And I noticed he was wearing a Santa hat.
Yeah, and talking about bush shaving. Yes,
a bush shaving of underage girls.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
There's the Santa hat. It was
I have found my bottom.
You can't beat the oldies.
Yeah, give me that old school stuff.
Oh, speaking of Woody
That's
Allen,
right.
though,
Yeah,
the woman that he left Mia Farrow for was her daughter.
yes, exactly.
And now she's like 50 some years old.
But not his. See, two of the biggest myths about that is that it was his daughter. It isn't.
No.
And that he used to stay at that house. He never stayed at her house.
In fact, they had a whole park between them, didn't
Well,
they?
I mean,
Wasn't
I'll
Central Park?
tell you what he did that was wrong. He took pictures of her naked and left them on purpose, mounted on Mia Farrow's mantle.
Okay, that's
That was shitty. That was shitty. It was.
That's
It was
shitty.
shitty.
Why did he do
But
that?
they've been together for 25 years. They have 2 kids. It's over.
These weren't pictures from when she was 13, but they were later.
No, when she was an adult. Sam.
Speaking of 2 kids, they did not have 2 kids, but if you've seen Rowan Farrow,
they had one.
And you don't see Frank Sinatra in Rowan Farrow, then I'm sorry.
You don't. No. Well, Jerry Lee Lewis shows up in England. Jerry Lee shows up on tour with his 13-year-old child bride. In what, 19?
His cousin.
Yeah, who had 19.
But he was from Louisiana.
I've been to
yeah, you're right.
There, that's considered an old maid.
Yeah, in Louisiana.
Yeah, you got to factor in. You got to factor in. They were from Louisiana. You got to factor
in. At least she had 2 legs.
No, that's the whole environment. You're supposed to the pool tour.
Yeah.
It's Jason. You haven't known me long enough to remember this line. I'm too old to do it now, but when I was in my 30s, I would say, "I'm finally old enough to have sex with a woman half my age." Well, that was a few years ago, but I wasn't ready to make the commitment to Tennessee.
Well, again, nowadays you can't get away with. I mean, I wanted to do. I've been working on a joke where I say something about having a thumb drive with Mexican beheading porn. Oh, by the way, Joe, I need my drive back. And I mean, I'm getting there. I haven't quite got it exactly where I want it.
You'll know when the time is right.
Jason,
exactly.
Jason, I just think you can get away with more.
Well,
the other comics.
I definitely got the Prince of Darkness thing kind of working for me. I mean, like I said, last night was my holiday show.
Yeah,
that was
old-fashioned Yuletide show.
That was.
Now you would have to become way more popular than you are now for you to be a threat to anybody. Everybody that sees your show, they don't see you as being something that's corrupting America.
No, I mean,
you have to make money before they think that.
Well, and that'll never happen. So we know how that goes.
You have to trigger much bigger audiences.
Exactly.
Paul
was doing what RuPaul was doing for 25 years, and all of a sudden he's popular. And people are going, "Where did he come from? Where did he come from? He's been around for 40 years, for Christ's sake."
Although there was a couple points last night, and it was really great. Everyone stopped talking. They were all looking at me, and it wasn't because my fly was down. This time.
Again,
including that family table in the back there, they stopped and watched you. That was nice.
And I'm like, wow, this is the way it's supposed to work. It's only taken me 10 years.
The Duggar family.
Yeah,
the Duggar family was there. That kind of looked like them. Good thing you didn't say that the night before. Jason would have put that in his act, I'm sure.
Yeah.
When you go to a deli to get egg bread, and you ask the guy behind the counter, Holocaust?
I when I was growing up, a friend of mine, his mother had the tattoo, and I asked my mom why, and I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I said, such and such mom has numbers on her arm, and she had to sit me down and say, yeah, that you don't bring that up. You don't talk about those things. She'll talk to you when they feel like it.
Two guys are at a Holocaust memorial reunion. They both have tattoos. One looks at the other and goes,
"Oh, you're breaking up, Sam. I got to hear that again."
No, do that again, because right when you did the punchline, you broke up.
Yeah,
two guys are at a Holocaust memorial reunion. They both have tattoos. One looks at the other and goes, "I got 2 4s."
Oh!
If these death camps were so bad, why did they all have tattoo parlors? I'm just asking.
Exactly.
It seems like a pretty sweet deal.
Hey, listen, you go take a Zyklon spa. You learn how to make natural soap. By the end of the day, you're involved in the whole, lampshade business.
Lampshades are us. Yep. Literally.
That these.
It was a little shady.
Oh my God!
So
we're all canceled now.
It's over, man. I can only see that there's someone who's saying yakety yak to 13-year-olds being sodomized, lampshade jokes, and poker on tattoo number. Yeah.
You're all on a list right now.
Yeah, exactly. There's the FBI.
There was a guy in Philadelphia who owned a club, which I hope blew up with him in. And I did a joke, not about the Holocaust, but I said, Mussolini made the trains run on time. Yeah, but where did they go to? And the guy said, we have Jewish customers. I said, really? Here in Philadelphia? Really?
At a comedy club?
He said, I don't think you're. I said, well, let me just say 2 things about that. Actually, 3. 1, I don't care. 2, your audience laughed their ass off. And 3, I don't care. And so he said, I don't think you can work here again. And as he said that, a Jewish woman walked up to me and said, I wasn't prepared to laugh at your act, but you were hysterically funny. And she walked away, and I went, you were saying?
Well, this is Philadelphia.
That I banged his daughter. What?
This is Philly, the town that elected Frank Rizzo, 18 times? I mean...
You have no idea how many people in Philadelphia who I thought had a brain speak of him fondly. I'm staggered by this.
There are people who still have Stalin tattoos on. Philly is the town that loved Frank Rizzo. I mean,
a guy who went to a banquet with a billy club in his cummerbund. Seriously, he did.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, again, he was not exactly Mr. Refinement, shall we say?
No.
I mean, kind of on a par with Lester Maddox or Bull Connor without the accent.
No,
whatever.
Bull Connor was much worse than either. He was much worse. He was a violent. No, Rizzo was like a big mouth, but Bull Connor was a violent critic. No, Bull Connor, I really hope is burning in hell. Speaking of which, here's Andy.
Speaking of which, here's Andy.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey,
yes, I've been living in hell.
Hey,
boy, have you missed a show, Andy?
Oh, I must have been what? Let's see.
Not this one, but boy, did you miss a show?
So did you kick your opening prop Santa off the stage, or did you?
I don't have to do that. He's I basically he knows when to get off the stage. So yeah, prop Santa.
You don't have a carrot top opening for you or anything like that.
Well, he's kind of carrot top in terms of he's got all these props. He's got he's got a list written in Elfin of all the kids. He's got keys.
I don't know what I hate worse, the prop Santa or the guitar Santa.
Yeah.
You know what? If you want to permanently scar a bunch of children, you and the other Santas have a fight. Right.
Yes.
That'll do well. It might actually
Those
happen.
kids will never ever be the same.
It might actually happen. It's like we almost had a couple of fights on set. So
Ned,
there you go.
based on what you're saying, I don't know if you know this.
And ointment.
Sorry, what now?
I thought kids will be leaving out cookies, milk, and ointment.
well, it's also. Go ahead, guys.
when you're working, if you're one of the animal characters at Disney World, they have three rules that if you violate it will get you fired. Number one, you can't eat while you're in costume.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Eat or smoke. Number two, you can't talk unless somebody judges you for having a perfect, like Goofy. If you can do that kind of thing, if they'll not a word. And number three, and this is the one that amazed me, there's more than one Mickey Mouse on that set. There's more than one because it's so big. You can't be seen with another.
Got to give us number three again. You got to give us number three again.
Okay, you can't be seen. You can't be seen with another one character like.
Right.
Two Goofies cannot exist in the same zone.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that'll freak. And by the way, worse than that is if the two Goofies start making out.
Yes, that would
be a harsh thing. Yeah, that would be kind of harsh.
That's fucking.
Two Goofies going hard at it on a set. Yeah, that would be really hard.
Do you guys remember how? Do you remember how South Park started as a show?
It was wasn't it an animated short that they shopped around?
I was at the Tonight Show then, so it would have been about 1995.
Yeah,
those guys, anonymously sent to everybody in Hollywood a cartoon they had created of Jesus and Santa Claus having a fist fight.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
That's
great.
That put them on the map, and then they created South Park.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic.
It was really fun.
I love
How many
that.
of you guys know my oldest son, Michael? Andy, you probably remember him from and Jason, he used to come to the Unclubs.
Yeah, I remember
Michael.
Yeah.
He was a Disney character down in Orlando for a couple of years, and because all the Disney characters are either under 4'6" or over 6'4", so he played your Goofies, your Beauty and the Beast, the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, Captain Hook from Peter Pan. Yeah.
Do they have a Ron Jeremy character?
That was not Disney. You're thinking. We were talking about that earlier in the show.
Different park. Yeah. Okay.
Different park.
Talk about Dixney. Yeah, there we go.
That's the horniest place on earth.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I've been having a lot of fun with it.
Anyway, so I went down there one time and it was like 115 degrees. Jesus. And they had these vests that were made of the that had that liquid that you put in ice packs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's still cellular, so you can still move around it. And they would wear that as a vest underneath their costumes on those hot days.
Oh, yeah.
And whenever it got over 95 degrees, they always had what they called a handler, like somebody else with a walkie-talkie. They didn't stay right next to them all the time, but if you were near one of those players and it was hot outside, you'd always see somebody nearby that was watching him all the time with a walkie-talkie. And there were a couple of times he said he would be out for 10 minutes and a 25-minute shift, and they'd have to escort him back because all he has to do is just waver or trip a little bit. And, they don't want anybody dying in those things.
Yeah. Well, they don't want you passing out because they can't take your head off till they get to an exit,
Yeah.
Oh, he played Woody from Toy Story too. That was another tall 6'4".
Love it.
Wow.
Did he enjoy the job, or was it just a job?
He liked it. I mean, he only did it a couple of years, and then
that's a long time, though. I mean, 2 years.
That's about as much as you can. That's about as much as a man can handle. A couple of years in that shit,
Yeah.
By the way, when they made out the schedule for Monday Night Football this year, do you think that they thought that Green Bay versus the Rams would be the shittiest game of the year?
Love it.
No.
One team is 4-9. One team is 5-8.
Yeah, love it.
We're pulling for the Packers in that game because the worse the Rams do, the better our pick is for the next draft.
Yeah,
that's true.
Oh, and by the way, I told you, this is the first time in my life I've ever pulled for a team.
Oh, you're freezing up, Sam. Damn it.
Against the Jets. I was pulling for the Let me now?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last thing we heard was, you remember I told you I never pull for a team. That's the last thing we heard.
You're pulling for the Jets?
Come in, Sam. Come in, Sam.
The Lions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I'm here.
Yeah, there you go.
The Lions are great.
The lovable losers.
And
I'm pulling for
pulled it
Lions
off.
because I think they can do better in the playoffs than the Jets.
Yeah. If they could win once in the playoffs, it'd be the second time in my lifetime. So,
And since the referees were taking, since at the Washington Commanders, God, I hate that name, the Washington Commanders Giants game, evidently the referees were getting paid by the team from New Jersey. Now next week the Commanders are playing San Francisco, and they're going to get killed. San Francisco's 10-4.
Yeah.
That kid Purdy is doing great.
Yeah, he's doing good. Yeah, it was eye-opening for the Los Angeles guys, losing constantly to San Francisco.
Well, I've never seen. Am I right about this? Is this the worst fall that any Super Bowl winning team has taken?
It's up there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 4-9. They're 4-9. I mean, that's.
Yeah,
wait a minute. The Giants have had 4 Super Bowl victories, and I can't believe 4 times out of 4 that they would have done better the next season. So there's got to be at least one stinker in the Giants.
Now, Chicago, when they won, they really tanked the next year, though.
Oh, Chicago? Okay.
When they won, they tanked really bad.
I will never forgive Mike Ditka for 2 things. 1, supporting Trump, but 2, he had an opportunity to let one of the greatest running backs of all time score a touchdown in a Super Bowl where they were killing the Patriots.
Yes.
And he gave the ball to Refrigerator Perry. I will never forgive that miserable piece of shit for doing that. Oh God. And one other thing about Ditka.
You talking about Walter Payton?
Yeah.
Yes. And another thing. What's his name? Ditka, he got all this credit for being such a great coach. He was in the weakest division you could be in. He had 6 guaranteed victories. The Lions, the Vikings, and who else? And Tampa Bay.
Sammy, that was back when
guaranteed victories.
No, he
They win the division and then they lose. Huh?
I say back then is when they had 5 teams in the Central Division, because they had Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, and Chicago. And so Chicago
and Green Bay sucked at the time.
Yeah,
they did. Yeah.
So that was 8 guaranteed victories. 8.
Because you remember when the programming wise, they used to refer to Green Bay versus Tampa Bay as the Bay of Pigs.
Wow.
I'm serious.
Wow.
They call that the Bay of Pigs, man.
That's what I call 15 women from Mississippi in a swimming pool.
Oh my God! I forgot. I'm about to say, but I'm going to jump in the middle of that. It don't matter. I ain't shit. Yeah, you'll remember John McKay's famous line about what did he think about his team's execution, and he said, "I'm in favor of it."
The funniest thing McKay ever did. I don't know if you ever saw this. It was a live documentary, not a documentary, but it was a clip. He was telling his team to back up off of the sideline, that they were too close to the sideline, and it was like, if I see one more goddamn player getting this goddamn close to and they bleeped all this to the fucking sideline, I'm going to start cutting people. Do you understand? I'm going to cut everybody. I'm going to cut all 45 of you, motherfucker. And they're looking at him like, well, they're 0-12, so he's kind of losing his shit. Just. But they would show something else, and they would go back to McKay, and he goes, "I'm serious. I am not shitting you." And they'd go away and come back.
Boy, do you think he regretted his choice to leave his cushy job there at USC, and
not for the money he got. Not for the money.
He got money, but my God, those first 2 years at Tampa Bay, just
you know what?
brutal.
You know what, Jason? Money cures a lot of ills. So.
And as soon as I have a bunch, I will. I'm looking forward to that.
When McLean Stevenson left MASH, everybody said, "What a horrible mistake that was." I saw an interview with McLean Stevenson. He said the contract he got from NBC to do those 3 failed sitcoms was more money than he would have gotten had he stayed at MASH.
Did he get
so while he regrets that the shows weren't successful,
doesn't matter.
Does he get a development deal when someone does something like that? And because I know they locked him up for like 2 years, 2 or 3 years.
Well, he probably
wouldn't get a development deal. Probably
money was very different then. I'll tell you someone else who left the show, and for a very different reason was what was his name? Wayne Rogers.
Wayne Rogers, yeah, he's an investor now.
He was an investor then. He handled Peter Falk's portfolio.
He didn't.
But he said he got sick to death of. He said, I felt that my entire acting career was going Martini Hawkeye.
Right.
Pretty much.
Right.
He had a couple of nice little lines in Cool Hand Luke. But everyone who was anybody in the 60s into the 70s was in Cool Hand Luke. One of the greatest movies ever made, and it didn't get an Academy Award.
What we have here, George Kennedy won.
Yeah, that's right. But I don't think he got it. Did he get it for that, or did he get it for something else?
Oh, no. He got it for that.
That was only his second role. I know that. He
got it for that.
He had a career.
Anybody look like that just got to be named Lucille.
Yeah. She doesn't know what she's doing. She knows exactly.
Oh yeah, she knows exactly what
she's doing. One of the greatest scenes of all time is that chick out there washing the car in front of the convicts. But and a great. The Lalo Schifrin soundtrack. It
was a perfect movie.
Yeah, I mean, who is it? Was it Conrad? I forget who was doing the photography. I think it was Conrad Hall who did it, if I'm not mistaken. Who was really good doing a lot of television. He did a lot of Twilight Zones and Outer Limits. Again, guy had an amazing eye. Yeah,
didn't Lalo Schifrin do Mission Impossible?
He did, and he was also commissioned to do The Exorcist, and he came in with a soundtrack, and the director heard it and said, "This is completely fucking wrong. You're fired." And he fired Lalo after paying for a soundtrack for The Exorcist. And then he's screwing around, and he puts on a Tubular Bell demo somehow or another that had managed to make it into his clutches, Friedkin. And he said, "Oh my God, this is it. This is the guy. This is the sound." And again, with The Exorcist, that the use of tubular bells is the perfect counterpoint to that movie. It worked. I mean,
in The Exorcist, do you remember they had that Mercedes-Benz limo?
Yes.
My brother's next door neighbor owned that car.
Really? That's a 500.
And they said to him, "We want to rent your car. We will pay you. We will insure it." He goes, he was rich. He goes, "I'll make you a deal. You don't have to pay me. I want to be the chauffeur." And they said, "Okay."
So all right, I love it.
You pay for the insurance, but you don't have to pay me. He said, "I just want to be the chauffeur."
But they would have had to pay him. He would have had to do that as an after part, right?
Yeah.
He couldn't just be in the movie.
That's correct.
Have to join the union,
Yeah, I mean that.
He joined.
Yeah, so I'm saying he got paid.
He joined.
Yeah. Okay.
Well. The question then. He
didn't get paid. Oh my God, money. No, he didn't give a shit.
No.
He didn't care if he got paid.
Right.
What about?
He got something. I think he got a meal.
Priest.
No, I'm just.
Yeah. The priest who was the friend
Max
of
von
Damien
Sydow?
Paris. No, not
or Jason Miller.
No, the guy who was Jason Miller's friend in the play. He's the one who gives him absolution. He's only like in 2 scenes. He was an actual Catholic priest that they had hired into the movie. He's the one who gives Damien absolution as he's dying at the bottom of the steps.
Jason Miller was from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and my ex-wife was from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and she said every night after The Exorcist came out, Jason Miller is going up to women, drunk out of his mind, going, I would rather. And they go, "Wow, that's fast." fascinating.
Wow.
Wow.
Check out the.
You must have read that championship in that same art got. I hear music, but there's no one there.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Well, that's because we've come to the end of our
There's
hour.
no blockers, but the trees are there.
Oh, dear.
Thanks everybody for joining us. As always, titillating conversation with old comics. Now let's get some new people on here. I'm going to start recruiting.
Be sure to watch TikTok Greenfield before I get banned.
Okay. And check out TikTok Greenfield before Sam gets banned, and the rest of us have a New Year's show. It's actually a 5:30, so we can't really call it a New Year's Eve show. It's going to be a celebration of the Young Club. We're going to have the best of the of what we've had this year, and Ned's going to be there, and Jason's going to be there, Andy will probably be there, and I'll be there for sure. So that's this Saturday. No, not this Saturday.
You know someone's stupid if you say it's going to be New Year's Eve and they go, "What day is that?"
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, next Monday we'll be back here at the off night on YouTube. So join us then. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Merry
Guys,
Christmas.
take care.
Well, Ned didn't have to bail. Yeah.
Well, I got to tell him that.
Yeah.
I'll let
What
him,
did he
I'll
do?
have to tell him let him know he doesn't have to bail once we finish.
He's very punctual. Now, does Ned live in Detroit now?
Yes. He lives in Ann Arbor.
And he's